So I'm
We're
starting.
recording. We're
You were
recording.
recording. So Dr. Eddie, we're going to do cleanup on aisle 5 with questions because we always have so many
Yes.
questions that you don't get a chance to answer. So we're going to start with some held over questions. So if you are not here in the live audience and you asked a question in February, guess what? These are yours.
Good.
Okay. So
Which
the
one you
first
gonna start
question,
with?
I'm going to start with one that says 8042.
Okay, got it.
Okay. I really wonder why it's more men than women that are emotionally immature.
Oh, okay. Well, there's several factors for that. First and foremost is the idea that one, let's just take it from a cultural standpoint. Okay, it is true, even though things that people have tried to shift and change culture, the way that we view men and women, but still, it's, for the most part, the core American family treats boys and girls somewhat differently, and boys are really still taught to be stronger, to not share a lot of their emotion, to be tough, and where girls are encouraged to again be more compassionate, caring, and kind. That again, that part of our culture, while it has shifted somewhat, it's still predominant. That's what it is. But girls play with dolls, boys play with trucks. But of course, there's been some change, which is fine. It should be, because I don't think it should be all or nothing in that aspect of it. The other thing is though, but that when we look at the neglect, the emotional neglect that uh, parents put their kids through at times, which lead to that emotionally undeveloped man. Well, there are emotionally undeveloped women also. Some of them get impacted by that too. However, they also have other resources and outlets outside of the family nucleus that boys don't really have or don't tap into. And what they do having that, if they have their girlfriends who are emotional and do engage, a lot of times that mirroring they see allows them to pick that up and to start to become a little bit more emotionally mature. Boys on the other side of the equation don't have as many of those opportunities to be able to do that. So that's just two of the reasons why you see that there are more men who are emotionally undeveloped than there are women. In fact, Tammy, I saw there was a study and it showed actually with Dr. Gottman, John Gottman,
Mm.
in his research that he did in the University of Washington. And what he wrote was the fact that he felt that only 35% of men are truly have a true strong emotional IQ. 35%, a third of the population.
Mm. There's part of me that's going, and I don't want to sound snarky, but I think he's being generous with that, I mean, honestly, no, and it's, but I think about, boys are raised to be, you can be forceful and all that, but it's not really. Girls, don't be angry. It's not pretty on you. Like, so there are the
Yeah,
cultural
go on.
messages, but I think that there's something innate, and it's, again, not every single person, because I know lots of of women who that aren't like that, and for whatever reason, but as a generalization, I do see that women tend to be more nurturing. So I think that men absolutely can learn that. I think there are some men that have it more naturally,
Hmm.
but at some point it's like the whys are of interest, but it's really, how do we move the dial? How do we value that everyone needs to be emotionally connected, and
Right.
we can grow up, if we're
Hmm.
immature, we can learn to grow up. To me, that's a more interesting conversation,
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, for many of the men that I work with, there is definitely a large segment that they got the message. It was either directly or indirectly that sharing emotions is not a very safe thing to do. Um, however, with that put aside, you know, the fact is there are a lot of other things that went on that lead men to become very inwardly focused in their head a lot. And I don't have a statistic, I'm just making this up on my own, okay? So if anybody starts saying, where'd you get that from? It just came from me. It's almost like I look at these men, including myself in the mix, and you know what? 80% of what goes on in our heads are about us, about what I like, what I want, what I'm worried about. And then the other 20% goes to other people. I look at women and I don't see women act that same way. I don't think women give that little capacity to the outside world. I think they give a lot more to it. Unless maybe that woman deals with an addiction, then I think also she's probably the same sort of mindset. But when we talk about changing the dynamic for a man to become more emotionally developed, that they have to expand that amount of brain power or attention that they're giving to other people to like 30-40%. That means you got to cut down what's going on in your own head. And that's a big problem for guys because we get so distracted, it's like squirrel, where, what, where? I mean, and no, we have to be able to train ourselves. And that's why I like the whole idea of meditation and be able to sit, be still. We have to focus to the point where it's like, okay, you know what? These thoughts keeps going on in my head and it's pointless. I'm having dialogues and conversations with people that I may not even wind up having them with. Stop, and focus outward on things. But this is the biggest struggle I think men have. I really do. I think it's like 80% of the thinking is aligned with what they want, what they need, what they worry about, versus, hey, let me look outward. Unless that changes, I don't care how much we try to work with them. And I know this, I see it, okay? No matter how much I work with that guy, if he doesn't quiet that noise down in his head and start to divide it out more equally, there's gonna be problems.
It's interesting because I often share with partners, like even if he develops emotionally, he's not going to be as in tune as your best girlfriend. Like that. So it's an unrealistic expectation of like at some point, he'll just, automatically get this. And it's not
Yeah,
that I stop the problematic behaviors and now I'm going to be like my best girlfriend. And so,
right.
so like they're like, just like you're saying, we have to learn to do this. I also really believe that culturally, it's perceived as a sign of weakness if men,
Oh, of course.
like you are weak if you are emotional. Like, why
Yes,
would you be connected and crying? Oh my gosh, like
right,
that would not
right,
be well,
right.
that's like the women being angry.
But the emotion we're asking men to do doesn't mean you have to sit there and like be weeping
Yeah,
on
right.
your sleeve. That's not what we're asking them to do. But I'm very happy that um, in fact, I'm not happy. I'm ecstatic that you talk to the women and you tell them about, hey, make sure your expectations are correct. And I must admit, when I first started doing this, I actually played into creating unrealistic expectation when I say the new guy. He's not going to be a new guy. He's a man who's transforming. Okay, and as I said, you guys have seen me. I said he's on this end of the spectrum and you want him to go over there, he's not going there. He's going to go here. But that's going to look pretty damn good. And hopefully he moves a little bit more on a regular basis through the rest of
Hmm.
his life. But
Yeah.
it is true. They are, my wife even said it too. She goes, it's like women expect this that this guy is gonna be your Prince Charming and he's gonna be this total, complete different. And that's not gonna happen. There's a lot of neglect, there's a lot of trauma that still lies there. So therefore, what is there? There's a defensiveness. That's what we're trying to crack down, that defensiveness, that fear. So therefore, if that dissipate, I could drop my hands and I could be vulnerable. And I even tell the guys, I go, be vulnerable, but that doesn't mean you're going to get back what I'm talking about, what I'm expecting to get back. You may not, you may get something harsh back, but it's like, okay, all right, that's disappointing. I'm sorry that, I'm trying to be vulnerable, but you're not, you're not willing to listen. That's fine. I get it. And back off, but don't allow it from precluding you to try again.
Right, right. I was going to say that's not an excuse. Well, I tried that and it didn't work, So,
Well,
yeah,
but
and
we
I was
see that
thinking
all the
too.
time.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like I tried it once and that didn't work, or I've gone to whatever. Yeah, no, no. It's like this is, like don't expect. I always say, like if you go to the gym once, you can't expect like now I'm going to be physically fit. Like I did it once, so therefore I'm all no. It takes
Right.
a lot of work and practice. But I was thinking too. If we celebrate the differences, like I'm thank God my husband is not like me. Like we would be like that would be he's very emotionally steady and I
Right.
can do this. And so I
Right.
appreciate having the touch point where I know, I can talk to him about things and he'll have the perspective, he'll be able to see things that I wouldn't necessarily see. So rather than look for him to be my best girlfriend, having him have the characteristics that he has, of course, sometimes I annoy him and he annoys me. We get that. But, if we're able to have the discussion about that, the two of us together, are far better off approaching the world than
Mm,
either of us would be alone,
yeah.
accepting that we're different. I'm sure you and your wife have the same thing. Like you guys
No,
have different perspectives, but together, taking on the world is a lot better.
absolutely.
Okay, so the next one. I'm the betrayer when I try to get close in a romantic way to my wife. Her pain starts to come out with verbalization of all my past betrayals. It kills me, or it kills the mood. What should I do to get past that and still be loving to her?
Well, what that tells me, if you're trying to get romantic with her and she starts to get upset, that she's not ready for that stage of the relationship yet. Um, Now, I don't know if that's every time. Maybe sometimes she is allowing you to get closer. But if this is, let's go with, since we don't have more information, let's go with the fact that whenever I try to do this, I'm getting the wall put up. That means she's not ready. And I think therefore, depending on how long you guys have been going through this, that's where you sit in couples counseling to talk about, okay, so what is the barrier? Because again, she probably still doesn't see you as safe. What does she need to see you to be safe? What is gonna need from you? And then, from that, putting together the game plan, because maybe there are certain things you can do from a romance standpoint that aren't, above and beyond, that is more overwhelming for her. Maybe she'll allow you to hold her hand. Maybe she'll let you put your arm around her and put her head on your shoulder, sitting on the couch or something like that. But perhaps you're moving too fast too soon and you're crossing over a place where she just can't handle it. So I'm going and I'm seeking a third party to get a better insight on, what the story, what's happening here, and what does she need.
Yeah, and I agree. Like if that's coming up every single time, it may also be that, like, this is off the table for now and she initiates any kind of romantic overtures. But I really do appreciate Sensate Focus Touch where it's, we're just going to hold hands. We're going
Right,
to go really slowly. And
right,
I'm going to ask you before I hug you because I want to make sure that, that is like you have complete control over your body and I'm going to ask permission to hold your hand, to give you a hug, to touch your shoulder, whatever it is, and that starts creating some safety, as well.
yes,
So
yes. And not getting offended if they say
right.
no.
Yeah.
It's just that's where they are right then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Again, that goes to show when you do that, now what you're doing is you're demonstrating your own emotional maturity, which is what we're trying to do.
Yes. And that you're respecting boundaries, which is massively huge. Okay. After everything that's happened, my husband seems to be working good recovery, but I know um, of my blocks, and I'm still fearful to lean into being physical and the feeling of wanting to be together and do things together. I know it will take work on my part to reconcile. How does this messy middle part look like for the betrayed partner? How do I move through my discomfort for the benefit of rebuilding a new relationship? I've got very comfortable in my own safety, detached from them. I hear this often. I bet you do too.
But I applaud this
Yeah, me too.
person, because this is what we're hoping is going to happen more. This is the whole purpose of, Terry and I writing the book, going deeper book for the betrayed partners, because we don't want you to stay there with that. So therefore, and again, kudos to you for bringing that up. We need to be able to first and foremost understand what is that barrier that's keeping you from going that extra step. Okay. And there's many different barriers that could be happening. One very common one is the fear that once we get back there to the point where he's looking at it and saying, "Oh, we're good, everything wonderful," the fear that he may go back to doing what he did. Because now it's like, oh, you know what? I can let off on my recovery. I can not, back off a little bit more on making you feel safe, which no, none of that is true. None of that is accurate, but that is one of the fears. So therefore, I can't let him all the way in, and I can't let him think we're good. All right. I don't know if you're ever good. I think you're in a place that is healthy, but yet if you think you're not going to have concerns from time to time, I don't think that's realistic. I don't know, Tammy, am I off or
No, you can never trust completely because
right?
he's betrayed you. So
Right.
trust can be rebuilt, but it won't be 100%. Oh, we're all good now.
Right. Now, I'm going to say something that, I know there are probably a lot of women in the who are betrayal, therapist or group leader, is I believe you have to trust what you're seeing with your eyes, that you're seeing that consistency. And I know some of them are saying, no, no, you can't trust anything. You can't. Well, guess what? If you're not going to trust anything, then how are you ever going to know if there's something that's good there? Okay. So therefore you have to look, and what you said, I think you're doing very strong work. That's wonderful. But sometimes you have to take, you know what? I'm going to take that chance. I'm going to take it. But I make it very clear to him. Look, I'm going to take another chance on you. All right. But my gosh, are you going to be that guy who's going to just break my heart again? Are you really going to go and do that? Because if you're going to do that, then please, please, tell me not to step forward to you again. And don't do it because of your own selfishness, because you need me, because you're afraid to be alone, because you're afraid you don't, you can't live without somebody. All right. Don't do that. Instead, be honest with yourself. Are you going to be able to honor me moving forward? And if you're sitting there and you're saying yes, then I would even tell him, don't even answer right now. Go off, think about it. And let him come back and let him talk to you about it. And if he says, yeah, you know what? I do. I really believe that I am going to be the one to be able to love you in a way I've never loved you before. See, this is another important thing. Women ask the question all the time, Tammy, right? They say, well, wait a second. If you love me, how could you have ever done this? Well, ladies, I have a have a thing that you're not going to be happy with, but it's the truth. They loved you the best they could. They have no idea what deep, true connection, emotional connection and bond is, because for the most part, they haven't had it in their lives, or they haven't seen the model for it, or they've had their own scars that they put up that wall, not allowing it. Now they think, and I'm going back to myself, when I got married several times before. I thought, oh yes, I am crazy deeply in love. I look back now and no, I wasn't. I thought I was, but I wasn't. Again, oblivious to what it really feels like. And now, as we start to become emotionally attuned, as we start to wake up, all right, that's what we're doing. We're waking up to another part of life that we've never really seen before. And it's like, wow, now I'm starting to really understand how powerful emotional intimacy is. And that I really do believe I can love someone more fully than I've ever loved any before. So therefore, you may have a guy there across from you right now who can give you exactly what you're looking for because he moved that way and it's hard to change that way. But your fear of not allowing him to come in. And that's, rather sad. Because at some point, you gotta roll the dice and you gotta take a chance. Okay, if you see he's doing the work, if you see, wow, that's impressive, but jury's still out, your jury may be out for the rest of the marriage altogether. You may have that one juror that's just kind of sitting there and saying, not sure, not sure. That's okay. You could still move forward. You could still do wonderful things together. You could still have an amazing life, but yet a little hesitant. And every once in a while, you may throw that pebble at them. Like, what the heck's that about? I don't know. I just felt like throwing it because I'm just feeling a little off today. Okay. So anyway, I don't know, Gabby, what are you thinking?
Well, it's a couple of things. First of all, you can create safety even if you're willing to dip your toe into the relationship. Like this is really safe and it's really alone. And so yeah, I remember early in my recovery, I saw a poster, a ship in the harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are meant for. And that popped into my head. And I was like, yeah, I can stay safe in the harbor forever. And yes, if I go out into the sea, there's going to be some rolling waves and things like that. But gosh, look at you. You have resiliency. You have created, boundaries for you. So I believe that you have the tools to be able to navigate this. And yes, even if he completely blows it, you will still be okay. Will there be another ding? Sure. Will it hurt?
Yeah.
Sure. But guess what? You'll go, okay, I'm still okay. I'm stronger than this. So,
But
like we are meant for connection and so ultimately, in a real relationship, it is connection. But I was thinking too, with your example of the 80-20%,
yeah,
where it's 80%, I think an addict, male or female, is probably 98% 2%,
you think
because
it that high? Okay, it might
yeah.
be. It might be.
No, like in active addiction, we are so
Yeah. Yes,
me
true,
focused.
true.
So in
Yeah.
recovery, sure, I think, as we start to navigate that, we do better with it. But like, gosh, we're holding on to our, like, and like even what you said about, yes, I believe he loved her, and using male and female to the best of his ability. And we learn that there's way more, there's way deeper. We don't have to be compartmentalized, knowing that we're just showing our partner a facade.
Right.
We're lying to ourselves and them, so they only see certain parts of us.
Right.
And so we are not able to connect on a deep level, because if you really knew what I was like underneath, you would be out of here in a hot flash,
Yep.
so
Agreed. Agreed.
yeah.
I like that. That poster was really cool about the
Yeah.
idea of ships aren't made for the harbor. And you know what? Again, you're seeing him doing the work, you're seeing the consistency. You know what? Take the boat out. Wear your life jacket, but take the boat out.
Yes. Okay. So the next one, let's go to let's go to
80,
44. Can you? Well, I
44.
see four.
Okay.
We can. Okay,
I
let's do
got it.
44. Okay.
Got it.
All right. So, what are some realistic expectations for the betrayed wife who is wanting to stay and work through this, but is so fearful of relapse? I know it's a process for him to change, but what happens when a relapse happens? How long am I supposed to endure relapses and wait to see the good work, good fruit, if that makes
Okay.
sense? So, yeah.
Okay. Well, again, if we're not talking of, if you're fearful of relapse, but it hasn't happened, then I would just rewind this tape and go back to what we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
If, however, okay, there is relapse that's going on, uh, then you have every right to be, very leery of it. How long do you stay? How long do you work through this? That's different for everybody. Okay, that's different for everyone. I can't give you a time frame to say, oh, all right, well, after the third relapse, that's it. Cut them out of your life. Um, I will. Let me say this: having been that guy, and if I was in the relationship of a betrayed partner, I don't think my bandwidth would be very wide, depending upon, again, what the betrayal was. But if I see that it's like relapse, good, relapse, good, relapse, good, I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry. I can't live my life like that. I can't do that. You know what? Because again, what you're doing is, you know what? People can get sober. Tammy's sober. I'm sober. There are millions, tens of millions of people out there who are sober from some sort of addiction. People can get sober. Everybody can get sober, unless maybe they have some sort of major personality disorder, which is really cutting in and changing the landscape of everything. So therefore, if you can't continue to go along and with relapse, 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 then you know what? I'm sorry, but you are not utilizing all of the tools that you have, but more importantly, you're not understanding why. Why do I think and feel and do what I do? Because if you know and fully understand that, oh my gosh, you have such great power to be able to, when you feel that sense of a relapse coming on, when you feel it, it's like, oh, wait, I need to stop. I need to slow everything down. What am I going to do? Do I just give into it? No. You know what? I have all these things. I got to call somebody. I got to go journal something. I have to go, take a walk. I'm going to go and engage in something that I really enjoy versus, oh, I'm just going to go do that. Okay, I mean, what you have a very, uh, your will is weak. Okay, and there's a lot of other issues that are there. And because you won't take the time to understand what the consequences of your actions are going to be. Now, I could understand back when you're in that heavy addiction. Okay, we've all been through that. All right, we're not thinking about what the consequences are. But here now, in recovery, and again, I'll give you that 1, 2 relapse. I'll give you those things because damn it, you better sit there and you better understand when after that happens that you pull yourself out of it and say, why? Why did that happen? Why did it occur? And what can I do next time to make sure it doesn't? See, the person who keeps relapsing over and over again, Tammy, I think they're not doing that work. They're not evaluating it. What they're doing instead is just like, well, yeah, it happened. I feel horrible. This is terrible. I'm such a horrible person. But I'm going to try really hard next time. And it just, why did it happen? And what are you going to put in place to ensure it doesn't happen again? No, anyway.
I call that a relapse autopsy because I need to know
Oh, that's nice.
why did I choose to act out rather than lean into the recovery tools. Now, I often share too, if I have a whole bunch of recovery tools and they're laying on the ground and I never pick them up, I don't call someone, I don't go to a meeting, I don't do anything, then how can I expect to have any of the benefits of recovery? And like the gym analogy, like if I go to my therapist once a week, or I do one 12-step meeting a week, and it's like going to the gym once a week and thinking I'm
Yeah,
going to get all fit and muscular and all those.
right.
It isn't going to happen. This is a 24/7 disease. And so if we don't choose to do things, consistency. One more thing, and then we'll move on. But I also say, and I share this in my 12-step meetings because I still go. But addiction is the only thing where I see what things are going really good. So I'm going to stop doing all the things that help me do things
Yeah,
well. And then I'm going to wonder why all of a sudden I've relapsed and why my life is in chaos and crisis,
because you're
because you
not
stop
doing
doing
the
it.
right, and you're not doing the smart thing. I had a client who relapsed. Yes, Eddie Capparucci's client sometimes relapse. Okay,
Yeah.
like I'm not a
They get,
magician.
no, they get to choose. They get to
All right,
choose.
that's right. And he woke up it was like early in the morning, he couldn't sleep, like 6 o'clock in the morning, he's feeling kind of groggy. And he go, oh, I think I'll go on the internet and look at what?
Hmm.
That's the
Hmm.
place you belong at that time. There's no common sense being used in that moment. And let me tell you, people who struggle with addiction, we need a lot of common sense. A lot.
And structure. Like, you know what I do
Yeah,
first thing in the morning? I do my daily meditations before I get out of bed. I do my daily meditations because
yeah,
that sets my intention for the morning and for the day. And you know what? I can go back to them if I need a refresh, so,
that's correct.
but I'm not going to go, I don't even go look at my work emails, which is saying a lot about me because those tend to pull me in. And I don't look at those first. I
I
take
know.
care of
Good for
me
you. You
first.
should.
Yeah, I need
Tammy, I
to.
just want to tell you, you know what? We're not even halfway through the
No,
leftover one. We have
we're gonna
11 more. Let's
I
go.
know, but I vote because we've got a bunch in the current. So let's
Yeah.
shift to that. We'll save the because they're here, and so
Okay.
let's shift. Okay, so the first one and the new ones. I am in
Oh, new
England.
ones. Okay.
Yes, yes,
Yep. Okay.
and I work with men online in Pakistan. Honor shame is the worldview. The men I work with did find out very challenging. A portion of blame is their families, as it is dishonoring to think that their parents have failed them. Any wisdom to help men through this challenge?
Oh, that is a
That's a great
big
question.
challenge. It's a
Yeah.
huge challenge. Thank you first and foremost for the work that you do
Hmm.
in this area and stuff. And
Hmm.
there's a big problem in the Pakistan area and the
Hmm.
Indian
Yeah.
area,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
India, all huge. Um, the idea that, you know what, we don't want to blame parents, okay? However, and you might think I'm just kind of playing, wordsmithing. I want to hold them accountable. So therefore, I look and I see what happened, their action, and how they impacted me. And I grieve that. You grieve it. But then you come back to it and you look at their lives, look at what they went through. For folks who have gone through the emotional undevelopment or the not being developed, it's generational. It's generational. Nobody, it doesn't, look at this amazing ancestry of individuals who are so emotionally attuned and all of a sudden, boom,
Hmm.
you have it.
Right.
No, that doesn't happen that way. Okay, it is generational. So I have to look back, and then what I can do is I can have empathy for them and what they did. Because in many cases, again, the parents themselves were oblivious. The parents themselves did the best they could. They didn't have what you needed, the skills that you needed, the insight that you needed, they didn't have it to give for whatever reason. So that's the way we usually approach that.
Yes, and I'm with you. It's not about blaming, but you did a webinar, and I've shared this one a lot back in September of last year. And what has happened can never unhappen. So it's acknowledging that that didn't. You can't make that unhappen, but how do you move
Right.
forward from here? And yes, the whole family system and all of those things, it didn't happen in a vacuum.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah.
Focus on breaking the cycle.
Hmm.
Focus on that more so than on bad mom, bad dad.
Right. Yeah. Because otherwise you get stuck in, I'm a victim because this happened to me. So, okay,
Yeah.
here's a cute story. So, betrayed partner here, I wanted to share a story and say thank you. Me and my husband watched the webinar about the pain field. One day, the following week, we were talking about him sitting with me while I'm sharing my feelings, and he puts up his hand showing an example of the pain field. I instinctively gave him a high five, then realized what he had put his hand up for. We shared a good laugh, and it helped to lighten the mood.
Oh, that
That's
is
awesome.
precious, precious. Thank you, Sarah.
Okay. First time here, married and having issues with porn and high sex drive. My wife has found out again, and I told her in the past that I wouldn't do it. I need to stop putting emphasis on sex and don't want to lose my wife. This has devastated her, and I'm trying to figure out what to do and how I can improve. I'd like to know how I can handle the situation now with my wife and respecting her hurt feelings and need space while I'm freaking out. She doesn't want a relationship anymore. What's a good
Okay.
approach for right now?
So two things. One, you're sitting there and you're saying, I have a high sex drive. And therefore I can't stop with the emphasis on sex. Well, that's because it's not about sex. You're running away from something. You're running away from feeling and experiencing some emotional discomfort or distress that you've had most of your life. And you found sex to be that thing that you could, hone into to keep that other thing at bay. You need to find out what that is. Okay, therefore look to do that inner child work and try to take care of that. How to handle a situation now with your wife, if again, first and foremost, to try to get a handle on what you're doing with your porn. Okay, if you don't get a handle on it, there's nothing you can do to help her. All right, because you're just continuing to hurt her. So first and foremost, got to take a step back to say, all right, how do I get this under control? How do I manage it? You can't manage it unless you know what it is, what's driving it. And as I said, we have classes on the going deeper, how the inner child impacts your sexual addiction. Well, we have one coming up in June, I think, Tammy.
Yes. Yeah.
That might be a
It's a,
great class for you to join so that you can, understand how your inner child, how your past pain points are driving your behaviors today. So again, I don't think there's, like I said, until you get that under control, it's gonna be very, very difficult to help your wife in trying to heal.
you can't do anything in active addiction. I typed in the chat, Tammy, TAMI at seekingintegrity.com. The drop-in groups we have, in addition to Dr. Eddie's inner child, there's porn addiction 101 and sex addiction 101. Those would be
Yeah,
really
that's
good
right.
places to start and then do the deeper work. But that will give you a 3-circle plan. So, I mean, you'll have
Yeah.
some tools to use. You'll have peers to be accountable with, to connect with. So we have a residential treatment program. Honestly, we have
Mm,
lots of guys who, are worried about losing their relationship. They come and get the solid foundation for healing so that they don't continue this problematic behavior
mm.
and or switch to another form. But as Dr. Eddie said, it's, the acting out is a maladaptive coping mechanism. We're using it for something, and a high sex drive, yeah, like to me that's intensity, and
Right.
it's focus. It is,
Yeah, it's just something that's misplaced. That's all it is. But
right.
I appreciate you being here. I
Hmm.
appreciate that you want to do work to help. We have the resources. They're here.
Okay. So the next one, I discovered the cheating of our entire marriage on my 50th
Oh my
anniversary. Oh
God.
my
That's
God.
horrible.
Took 1.5 years for honesty. He is in a good, he is good at deceiving and manipulating me. Now he wants me to return. I am fearful of re-engaging. He seems to have changed and the marriage counselor agrees. I have forgiven and we are friends, but I need to find a way to overcome the history of abuse and try to trust again. What will help? Counselors want me to try to let it go. Does that mean let him go or suppress my nightmares? Wow.
Oh, okay. You, what I see here, what I'm seeing here, and if I were you, what you need is you need more grieving. You need to, again, I don't know what has happened in your counseling experience in the past, but you need someone who very highly specializes in grieving so that you can really desensitize the pain that you have. Because, like you said, what am I supposed to do? Suppress my nightmares? No, you can't suppress your nightmares. You have to engage your nightmares and to be able to sensitize them so that they're no longer nightmares. Right? They're somewhat troubling, but they're not nightmares. Because let's face it, I mean, on your 50th anniversary, 50 years in, you find out what's going on. I that I can't imagine. I'm so sorry, but I mean, completely rocked your world. And then it took them a year and a half to really let it all out there for you. So yeah, there was the manipulation, and that's part of what you have to grieve too. I'm very happy to see that he has seemed to have changed. I'm glad to see the marriage counselor agrees with that. Okay, I'm glad that you guys are somewhat friends and that perhaps you've even forgiven, but you have more forgiving to do. And with that, first and foremost, you have to come to a peace yourself. So I would be going back, whether with your past counselor or finding a new one. Tammy has a whole resource that you can tap into, but we need someone who's really gonna help walk you through the grieving trail. So therefore, what it does, it takes your nightmare and it just brings it down to something that's more troubling, but it doesn't continue to rock your world. So again, I'm very sorry for what you're going through.
And we started earlier with like, you can never trust him again completely. Like, for sure he spent 50 years or 51 and a half years, lying to you. So I'm glad you're friends, and you guys have a huge, long history. But yeah, I really encourage you doing the work that you need to do to be safe. Ask the counselor what they mean by letting it go. I mean, that's a fair question. What do you mean? But somebody who goes, oh, just forgive and forget, no, like for your safety, what are your healthy
Right,
boundaries? Can
right.
you dip your toe in trusting? Sure, but it can be in, friendship kind of ways. But like, this is really your journey. What support do you need, for this next chapter, and what do you vision for yourself, and can he be part of that, like,
And
or on what level? Go ahead.
that's a great point, Tammy, what you just said, the next chapter. But see, maybe it doesn't go back to where it was, which it should never go back to where it was
Correct.
before anyway. But maybe the new chapter moving forward is not so much of the marriage relationship that you had. Maybe you guys are more friends. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's more about we can enjoy good time with each other and things like that. But you never put him in a position where he could really hurt you the way he did before. I'm not saying that's where you should go. I'm just saying that could be one of the options that you look at as you move forward.
Well, and Dr. Eddie said earlier, it's what you see him do. So it, like I would really want to know what his recovery plan is, because he's got decades of, of acting badly, and hurtful. And so what is he doing that would ensure that he is on a different path? What is he really doing on a daily basis? We have a daily reprieve from this stuff. It's, we are always I'm always going to be an addict. I can just be an addict in active recovery or an active addiction. There's really not any straddling the fence.
No,
So,
right.
okay. Next one. Emotional development. How do you cut down on what's going on in your head to get to that higher percentage of thinking of others? That's a great
Ooh,
question. How do you
that
define what's selfish versus low empathy?
okay. So it is a good question. Thank you for sending that, Gregory. the idea, first and foremost, go back to some of the skills. What you need to do is learn to slow everything down. All right. And I mean everything. I mean, we're learning to slow down not just the noise in our head, we're learning to slow down our heart rate, okay, our pulse, we do all of this, what we're trying to do. And that requires meditation. You have to be able, just like Tammy said, she does a practice every day of sitting and meditating. And if you want, I have a meditation library of music and sound. I'd be more than happy to send it to you. Tammy, you want to put edcappa@gmail.com in the
I
chat?
will do that.
Okay. And be doing it every day to learn how to do that. Go start, you're gonna laugh maybe, Gregory, I don't know, but start taking yoga. Start doing yoga, if another way. Also, during the course of the day, you need to take breaks. Put something on your phone, a reminder of some kind. You just need like 5 minutes to be able to answer the question, how am I doing mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually? Sit back for a moment. How am I doing emotionally, or mentally? Do I have a lot of racing thought? Do I feel rather numb today? Do I feel like, what's going on? How am I doing emotionally? Have my mood shifted? Have it changed whatsoever in the few time? Do I feel ornery? Do I feel sad? What do I feel right there? How am I doing physically? When you're quiet and you slow down, you're gonna find aches and pains you haven't really realized that are going on in your body at the moment. They're right there. If I just did it now, I can feel it right here in the back of my
Hmm.
neck. I'm feeling some pain back there. And then spiritually, how close do you feel to your higher power, to God? All of those things are really important. It's about being able to be more present. You have to be in the moment. And I used to blow that off when I used to hear people say, oh, gotta be in the moment. We have to, whatever. It is so true. It is
Yeah,
absolutely true. So anyway,
yeah,
those are part of the steps that you take to do it. It takes time, it takes effort. All right. But again, if you put in that effort, you could see really good results.
yeah. My biggest thing is if I ground my feet, if I
Oh,
was,
yeah, there you
yeah, like,
go.
because if I'm paying attention to my feet, I'm grounding my feet, and that, and then I'm like,
Uh,
just doing that and paying attention to it starts the
yeah.
whole process for me.
I've heard of that before. I heard for
Yeah.
me, it's more along the lines of sit up.
Oh, interesting.
Push the shoulders back. If I do
Yeah.
this,
Yeah, yeah,
push the
yeah.
shoulder, push the shoulders back. And that's what, oh, okay, I'm now, like you
Yeah.
said, grounded.
Yeah.
And now I could focus. And also the other thing, is when the things are starting to come in your head, don't let them linger. I started this years ago. When I start getting these thoughts, I go, stop, stop,
Yeah. Yeah.
stop. That's all I do. I just
Yeah.
stop,
Yeah.
and and go to something else. Look to volunteer. Do volunteer work. Do something that's out. I could go down a list of things for you, but
Well,
there are
but
many
it's
things
also
you
have
can.
that list handy, because as soon as you start doing that, that's not the time to think about what do I need to do to get out of
No,
this.
right.
Like have a half a dozen things that you go, this will help me. Like I, shift my focus.
Yep.
So yeah,
Have to plan, plan,
yes,
plan, plan.
yes. Okay, so the next question. Hi, Eddie and Tammy. I've been in recovery for 2 years. I have a CSAT. I'm doing group therapy, couples therapy, and have done inpatient at Seeking Integrity. I have a porn addiction and haven't viewed any in over a year. My wife has told me
Congratulations.
that I have a screen addiction and has asked that I reduce my screen time, which I have done. I watch an hour of news in the morning and a half an hour in the evening. I also watch my alma mater basketball games 2 times a week. She says it is hurting my brain. How is this hurting my brain? Thanks.
You're watching the news. You're watching too much news. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They did 2 hours, 2 games a week is not a problem whatsoever. Okay? You want what, 10 minutes of news somewhere? But you're watching an hour of news in the morning, you watch another half hour in the evening. I guarantee you by the evening, not much has changed from the morning. Then what you're doing, Mike, is you're putting all of this negative toxicity into your brain. Now, I am not of the belief that we bury our heads in the sand and we exclude ourselves from what's going out in the world. I am not. But you need media blackouts. You have to be able to go up several days without turning on the radio, turning on the news, picking up a newspaper, looking at the news website. You've got to shut it down because what we're supposed to be filling our brain with are things that are healthy, things that are positive. That is so critical. And you know what? Start picking up books. Yeah, put down the screen. You're right, too much screen time. Start picking up books and reading them. Listening to music, things like that. That's I would be changing that up. Your wife is right. You have to be careful. Okay, you did great work. I'm so glad to see over your recovery. The fact that being able to go into an inpatient program takes a lot of courage. I'm glad to see that you did that. But don't derail what you've done. Keep it moving. And again, the basketball is great to watch the basketball, but make sure, is your wife also saying you're not engaging with her enough? I don't know. I don't know if that's what it is, but maybe something to look at.
Yeah, I stopped 4 years ago in COVID, like all of the negative messages that it was toxic for me to watch the news. I haven't picked it back up. I'm intentional. I mean, I'm not, living in a bubble. I pay attention. There are certain things that I go check out or I'll hear
Yeah.
about, so I'm not, I'm not without news, but that was just completely negative and toxic to me. And I was
Well,
like you said, stop. I was like, I do not need this. I am
yeah.
intentional about what I take in, and so I want positive messages. Again, I do my daily meditation. Guess what? I'm starting with positive things, not negative, news junk that
Right.
is of no help to me. I have no
No.
control over any of those things. I want to be aware of certain things,
Right.
but I go do research. If I'm looking for information, I go do my own research so that I learn about it, not what somebody's trying to feed me as like this is, their truth.
Important,
So
important
I'm
stuff.
very intentional. Okay, the next one. My husband does not like it when I tell him once an addict, always an addict. Well, that okay. From what I know from going to groups and listening to podcasts, the addiction never goes away, but it can be out of the mind if one does not work on a daily basis. However, my husband says if I tell him things like "I will never trust you 100%," and once an addict, always an addict, he says it makes him want to just give up on a relationship. Am I wrong in my beliefs? No,
Oh,
all of those things are true, and
they're,
so.
they are true. I guess my
Mhm.
question is, why you have to keep throwing that at them? That's the only thing. Yeah, we have addictive brain, we have compulsive disorder. All right, I understand that. That's what it is. Now, if you're saying he's not doing the work he should be doing,
That's what I'm getting.
that's
Yeah,
what I'm getting to.
yeah.
That's something very different. However, I think instead of, again, well, you know what, you're an addict, you're always going to be an addict, so you need to do this. Instead, you know what? The fact that you're not doing this work, if really it's making me, I'm very scared. You are triggering me by this. And I can't imagine that you'd want to trigger me after what you put me through. I would hope that what you want to do is to make me feel as safe as possible. And I need this for you to make me feel safe. So it's those kind of things. And you don't have to tell him that you're never going to trust him 100%. He should already know that. So it and look, I understand you're in pain. I get it. I understand. I believe in the trauma, in the betrayal trauma model. All right. But you know what it's almost like doing? It's almost like you're throwing gas on it. And if you're going to discourage him, which it could be discouraging him, we don't want to go down that path. I mean, I know he's hurt. He's gonna, All right, the lynch mobs are gonna come out, all right, but I'm sorry. I know these men have hurt you, women. I know it. I understand. But you not helping to encourage him as he moves forward doesn't help the situation get any better. Like I said this a long time ago in one of these things. I mean, you want to keep taking a bat to him, okay? I don't care how much work he does. There isn't going to be much of him left by the time you maybe one day say, okay, I think I'm ready to see to move on and do something more with you. He may not be. What again, I'll go back to, I sound like a broken record with it. What is the bottom line that you are trying to accomplish here? And I would hope for him is to be sober. I would hope for him is to make you feel safe. I would hope for you is to learn how to manage my trauma and to be able to eventually forgive and reconcile. You know that last part? I don't see that a lot of places. I see the rest of it. Yeah, I got to deal with my trauma, blah, 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 but I don't see a whole lot of, oh, let's get to a point now where we're going to forgive and we're going to reconcile. Because we're just too busy being angry. We're just too busy being upset. We're just too busy not, and again, I hate it. Let it go. You shouldn't let it go. Should never let it go. And what I mean by that is, okay, it'll always be there, but can we maybe put it over here out of sight a little bit? You can turn back to it whenever you get triggered. But I think you really got to ask yourself, what are you trying to accomplish? And I would hope is reconciliation. Because if it's not, I don't know what you're doing. So anyway, but I think there's more here, Tammy. I think it's more along the line that maybe she's not feeling safe, that he's not doing enough. I think
Yeah,
that's what I'm on.
that's what I was going to key in on is I don't feel like there's actions because if you were seeing actions, like you wouldn't even feel compelled to remind him he's an addict. He would know it, and you know, and you know what, for me that's a freedom to know that that was the reason why I did all the insane crazy things. And guess what, there's a plan I can do. It's like diabetes. I won't ever not have diabetes, but I can sure learn to live differently and not have negative consequences. Same thing with this. If I choose to do on a daily basis what I need to do, my life is really darn good, and that's huge. I'm not focused on, oh, woe is me, I'm an addict. I'm more like, no, I'm a person in recovery and I
Yeah.
get to experience all the amazing benefits of that. So, okay. So we are out of time unless you have
Yes.
time for one more.
Yeah, go ahead. What do you want, more?
Okay. This looks like it's tied. So it's going to be two. How do you move past the images of the acts that you discovered to begin getting closer again? This is the wall I am hitting. 15 years, my husband led a secret life, withheld sex from me, and I saw too much in chats on D-Day a year and a half ago. I'm having a hard time with this area. How do I stop comparing myself to these women?
Um, this is why we always tell people be careful about what you watch and what you look for and what you want to see. Now, again, you may have just stumbled upon all this. I don't
Right.
know. But um, first, let me go back to the idea of comparing to these other women. You don't need to compare yourself to other women. Just be who you are and don't allow his action to define who you are. Don't let his action, his insensitivity, okay, his callousness, don't let that define who you are as a person and as a woman, right? Instead, be confident for what you have. And if you're struggling with that, that's where I'd be talking to my therapist. I want to work on building my self-worth again, my self-esteem. That's where I want to go with that. And if that happens, then you're going to find out these images, they really don't hurt as much. They don't sting because you feel good about yourself despite whatever he has done. And you know what? You owe that to yourself. You do. You owe it to yourself. And so therefore, that would be my mission right now. I'm going to work on my self-worth, my self-esteem. I am going to learn to love myself again and not allow him to vomit all over you with what he's done. That's where I go.
Yes, and that basically, oh, okay. Oh, somebody got it, the time zone. This,
Oh,
I'm gonna answer this one real quick because,
okay.
like, yeah, like with our site, and there was a time zone change, and, or I mean, it's daylight savings time and all that. You can add these to your calendar. Like, you go to our site, you can add the webinars and drop-in groups, and you can add them, and it will automatically, add the Zoom link and the adjust it to your calendar settings. So that can be helpful for people as well. So I'm sorry you missed it. This video will be posted later today
That's right.
on the site. So check that out. Okay.
It'll
So
give you something to do later.
well, yeah, yes, and she said that's how she caught him. That was the
Yeah, looking at seeing the image, you got him by you finding the images. Okay, I'm
yes,
sorry that you went
yes,
through that. But again, help do something for yourself.
yes,
Okay?
yes,
You know, this has been your life. This has been your life. This is not what your life should be. Your life should not be about recovery constantly. Your life should not be about, oh, what did I do wrong? Why could I have been better? Why could he not accepted me? Stop
right,
and move and shift over here and take your life back.
yes.
You have the power to do that. Please do it and report back to us and let us know how that works out for you.
Yeah. I put in the chat the Empowered Women Retreat, amazing and healing for the women that joined us, and we didn't talk about the guys. Like,
One day, I'm going to get them to invite me there to speak.
Your male, sorry.
I'm still gonna work on it.
Thanks, Dr. Eddie. Thanks everyone for the questions. I captured all of these, so we may have to plan
We
another
may
one, and
need to
we'll
do
still pull
another
out the
one.
other
So,
ones. Yeah, so we'll get there. Okay, thanks
all right,
everyone.
bye.
Bye-bye.